Bare and Complete with Lauren Fairchild. 100% acceptance and empowerment for women. Welcome to this episode of Bare and Complete. This is episode 3 within the trio of episodes I've been doing on this channel the last 2 weeks around emotions, specifically fear, anger, and sadness. And the reason I'm diving into these emotions is because these emotions are often considered bad, and this can actually cause detrimental programming and subconscious beliefs and limiting beliefs that actually impact us. It impacts our identity and it impacts our ability to be whole and complete. So we're deep diving into each one, and today we're going to be talking about sadness. If you haven't listened to the episode around fear or anger in the last 2 weeks, then that is totally fine. Continue on with this one. Afterwards, though, I'd encourage you to check out those 2 episodes as well. So today we're talking about sadness, which is, as I said, the third emotion we're tackling in this trio of episodes around emotions and these bad emotions that can get stuck in our system. And sadness is a really interesting one because often when we're sad, we are quickly told as children to just get over it, to be distracted, and be happy again. And this isn't just from our parents, this can be with our friendship group, this can be at school with teachers or caregivers, or any situation really in life. Over your whole span of your life, being sad is often considered something that is bad, or that we shouldn't be sad for too long. And when we have this connotation around sadness and we push down sadness, or we're sad but we're not really allowed to explore why we're sad or understand why we're sad, and then it becomes a bad part of us. And if something's bad within our system, then that causes an internal conflict, because the sadness is actually there for a reason. But if we don't process this sadness, what happens is it can get stuck in our system, and it can actually lead to health issues and emotional issues and physical issues. And the reason it does that is because emotions aren't supposed to be stuck or stored in our body. They're supposed to be processed out through processing and understanding why they're there, and then they can move on. And when sadness isn't processed, it can actually form traumas and micro traumas within the body. It can cause physical and mental and emotional impacts. And sadness in itself isn't bad. It's not a bad emotion. It's a natural human emotion. And the connotations of it being bad really causes us to disconnect with what the sadness is there for. And we then have, as I said, this inner conflict within our identity and within our system. So I'm going to bear it all around sadness. Sadness is actually a beautiful human emotion that allows us to know that we have been wronged in some way, or that we have a grief of some sort, or have had a situation where we have been the one who has had wrongdoing done to us. So it is an alert system, if you will, that shows us when something in our environment or in our situation or in our experience has actually been detrimental to us, and we become sad about it. So if we think about this in a really childlike way, you might have had a situation where you had a toy taken off you and that made you sad. You may have cried about it. But then you may have been told, don't be silly, get over it, stop crying, don't be sad, be happy. And therefore you have these learnings that it's not okay to be sad. As an adult, there's other things that you experience sadness from as well. And one of those also might be if a loved one passes away and you're no longer able to be with them. That's sad. And that's grief. And that is also your system telling you that there is a wrongdoing. It's not a wrongdoing that was anyone's fault, but it's a harm done to yourself. It's a harm because you miss that person. And generally within grief, sadness is more socially acceptable and allowed, at least for a certain time. But yeah, this sadness in the body is just a sign that something has happened to us that is a hardship in our system. And even as adults, we might become sad for other reasons too. We might have a fight with a friend that makes us sad, or potentially something with a loved partner, a fight with them, or a separation or a breakup. So there's lots of things in life that can make us sad. You might go for a job and not get it. That can make you feel sad. Like, sadness is an emotion that is a human emotion. It's a natural emotion, and it is a needed and welcome emotion to show us where we're at. Because life isn't always going to be, happy days and positivity and rainbows and unicorns. There's also, ups and downs in life, and that is also a natural part of life's journey. And if we don't allow ourselves to really process sadness and be sad, then it can become shoved down in our system and become stuck in our system. And chronic sadness is unhealthy because it's not supposed to be stored in that way. So it's like the saying goes, better out than in. And even just sometimes you may have experienced talking to a friend or someone when you're upset and when you're sad, and just talking about it and getting it off your chest, you almost feel a relief at the end, and the sadness almost comes out of your body. You're able to still feel the emotion, but it's not super charged up. So that is a good example of actually processing your sadness in the moment. And when we don't do that and we bottle it up and we push it down and we don't allow ourselves to be sad and we just put on a brave, happy face, that is when we have a separation occur and an inner conflict occur within your identity and within your subconscious mind. Because on one hand, you're sad and your subconscious is saying, yeah, we're sad. I'm giving you this emotion of sad to show you this. There's a reason for it. We're telling you. And then on the other hand, we're saying, oh, we're not allowed to be sad. We're going to push that down. We're going to push down the feelings of sad. We're going to go on and ignore it and just never process it. So there's an inner conflict there, because we're supposed to have and experience the human emotion of sadness because it's telling us something about our environment or about our life experience at that point. We then take the learnings and the understanding of where we're at, and then we can process out the sadness. So a way to process the sadness, which you can do on your own, is to just literally start writing it down. So if you're sad about something, and you might just be sad and not even know what you're sad about, and even if you don't feel sad right now, I'd still encourage you to use this process and see if there's any chronic sadness built up in your system, because generally majority of people do push down sadness and it does become chronic in your system. So I just encourage you to try this out if you choose to. And then if you do have a situation where you're sad in the future, you can also use this as a tool as well. So similar to how I mentioned before, if you're talking to a friend and you're getting everything off your chest, and sometimes you get to a point where you just feel at the end of the conversation, oh, I feel so much better, thank you. You can actually do that with yourself just by writing. And you can just write and start by writing, I'm really sad because, and then just write and let it pour out of you. And if you get stuck or feel like you're blocked, you can just say, what am I not allowing myself to see around my sadness? And then write again, I'm really sad because, and let that come out. And just let it all pour out of you. And another good way to get process sadness is actually through a big cry. We often hold ourselves back from crying, but it is a really natural and powerful way to actually process the emotion of sadness as well. And it's a physical response. It's getting that physical energy and physical sadness out of you through tears. So I'm all for a big cry when and if you need to. And you may find in this process of just writing out why you're sad and venting to yourself, getting it out off your chest into the paper, you might have an emotional point where you do feel like crying. And I encourage you just to let it out. Let out the emotion. It's there for a reason. Let it out. It's been stored in your body for too long, so just let it out. And then acknowledge that sadness is actually part of being a human, and it's allowing us valuable information about our situation of where we're at that point. We don't have to be afraid of being sad, and we don't have to deny sadness and pretend like we're not sad and pretend that everything is fine. Obviously, you can in the moment. For example, if you're at work and something happens and you feel really upset by it, it's totally acceptable to maintain that level of professionalism and leave, respectfully. And then when you're privately at home or, wherever, and you're able to then process your sadness, you can do it then. This tool or not denying any of your emotions of fear, anger, and sadness that we've talked about, you don't have to then just do it in the moment and, process it. You're able to process it in your own time and process it in privacy. Or if you choose to process it with a friend, with, talking to a friend about being upset, that's totally fine. You don't have to do it in the moment. It's just about doing it in a timely fashion so that that sadness doesn't become chronic in your system and get stuck in your system and cause impacts to your identity and to your health. So that's the main difference. So you definitely still can, it's not about hiding your sadness in that moment, but in that professional example of being at work, that is totally fine for you to remain assertive in that moment, not show your emotions, and to remove yourself from that situation when you can. And then when you're at home or in a private space that's safe for you to then process the emotions, that's when you can do that. And this is a really profound technique because I promise you, processing your emotions of sadness is so much more healthy for you than keeping them bottled up. Feeling sad and showing your sadness in these spaces, which are, a safe container, a safe place for you to do so, is so profound and powerful. And when you do this, you realize that sadness is just a part of a human experience and that it actually makes you whole and complete. When you welcome in sadness and acknowledge that sadness is a part of you as a human, then you are whole and complete, and you can process the emotion without it causing any separation within yourself, any inner conflict, or anything that's really going to disrupt or get stuck in your system. And it is a relief that we don't have to hide our emotions. That brings me to the end of the deep dive into sadness. So I just want to complete the three emotions now with a final thought. Fear, anger, and sadness are all natural human emotions. They are a part of our life experience, and they are actually valuable in the information that they give us about our environment. We don't need to shun them or deny them or push them down or hide from them. When we do that, we cause a separation. We cause inner conflict, and it can lead to health issues. When you see that these are a natural part of life, of your human experience, and that they're not bad in any way, that fear, anger, and sadness are actually there as a way to support us in being safe and protected and whole and complete and empowered, then you can embrace those emotions. Then you can welcome them into your environment, knowing that they make you whole, that they make you empowered, that they make you aware of what's going on in your environment so that you can stay safe. So the difference is the fear, the anger, and the sadness is not trying to destroy you or rip you apart or cause negativeness in your actions and behaviors. But that's what happens when it's chronic, when it's unchecked, when we've denied them, when we've pushed them down, when we've not allowed these emotions as part of our existence. So on the other hand, when we are open to them, when we do welcome them, when we see them for what they are, when we let them tell us what we need to know, and then we process them out in healthy, balanced ways, then we see that fear, anger, and sadness are actually emotions that are required within our life, that they make us whole and complete, and they're not there to tear us apart, but to actually support us in being safe and empowered and whole and complete. And that reframe and that connection and that relationship with those emotions is going to have profound transformation on your life, on how you experience life, and how you can actually live with true acceptance and empowerment and be whole and complete. So thank you so much for joining me on these 3 episodes around emotions across fear, anger, and sadness. And I'm excited to hear your thoughts on them and how this has also impacted your relationship with those emotions. Thank you so much for joining me. Subscribe to the channel now. Bare and Complete with Lauren Fairchild. 100% acceptance and empowerment for women.